Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our next session with Tamlyn, who is a former derivatives trader in the power markets and also the co-founder and head of strategy at Vega. She was in an earlier session, and she'll be also leading a panel later on. In between the start of the panels, we're going to have a quick demo of a derivative platform, also the thing we're building at Vega. It'll be very, very high level, I think. Because it'll be like 10, 15 minute overview. So I will leave it to Tamlyn to begin. And then, yeah, you can have a look, give some opinions. And if you like what you see, come along to one of our onboardings or come and find us on Discord and you can chat with us a bit more. All the best, Tamlyn.
Thanks, Dagan. Hi, everyone. So yeah, what I really wanted to do today was walk through a bit of a trade life cycle of a future. So a futures product, and I'm going to use the Vega platform, as Dagan said, but it's also, I'm going to just sort of more broadly speak about the trade life cycle, and then I'll try and, sort of have a little bit of discussion around, how you decentralize those bits of the trade life cycle, or even the full trade life cycle as we've done at Vega. So yeah, as Dagan said, I'm a former derivatives trader myself. I traded the power markets for many years, and then power markets are really, really volatile because supply and demand, basically power can't get stored. And so you get these major price spikes. So futures and swaps and swaptions and so forth are other things I traded quite a lot of. So yeah, I think that one point, actually, you know what? I'm just going to dive straight into it. Hopefully my share screen works. Let's try this. Hopefully you guys can all see this. I'm going to make this full screen. Yeah. Okay, maybe the sharing of full screen isn't working. I'm not sure exactly what you guys can see, but hopefully this is all good. I'm going to check the chat, actually. Yeah, we can see. Brilliant. Thanks, Christina. Cool. So this is slightly awkward because it's a squashed version as a result of something to do with the sharing, so apologies for that. But yeah, this is what is pretty much a typical sort of looking futures exchange. You might have seen similar things either in the traditional markets or maybe some of the crypto exchanges. A bunch of us come from the traditional markets, so we sort of set out to build something that was a little bit Bloombergy and a little bit flexible, and you can make layouts, and we've got a bunch of shortcuts and so forth. So what I'm actually just going to first show you is, I just want to make one point sort of kind of up front, is that what you're looking at here is, instead of an exchange that's being run by a central server and a central operator, you've got an exchange being run by, a derivatives exchange being run by a network. And this network is just 5 validator nodes. They're fully globally distributed, and we've been building our own blockchain designed specifically for trading, and we're currently using Tendermint, although we're designing to be quite modular. Great. So, right, let's talk about the trade life cycles. So, probably I would say, the first part of the trade life cycle is making a decision about, well, first of all, what you want to trade, and then a decision of the price level at which you want to put that trade on and the volume. And there's a range of different strategies that can drive those decisions. But the price especially really relies on a couple of things. And one thing you're always going to want to know as a trader, you always want to get a fair price. You don't want to pay more than you should. So you want insight into where the market is currently trading. So I'm actually going to go into the ETHUSD market because that's the one I'm going to put a trade on in a sec. And if I wanted to put a trade on an ETHUSD, I might go to the order. You can see the order book over here. Just get rid of this, and you can see where the market's trading. By the way, all the trading happening on here is either traders interacting on our testnet, or we've got some bots that are we've set up to basically place orders. They send an order to one of our nodes. It gets gossiped, added to the order book. And so yeah, I'm looking at this order book, and I see where the price is. So having good visualization of that's really important. I think something that really frustrates me about a bunch of the professional exchanges at the moment, and they only do it because they can get away with it, but they charge a lot for live data access to see where the current prices are. I think CME made something like 500 million last year, just from that alone. And forgive me if I've misquoted you, Sammy. I don't intend to, but I'm fairly sure in any case, it's hundreds of millions and in fact billions every year that the global exchanges do charge for access to the data as quickly as possible. And some of you may have heard of even strategies like co-location, where people buy to sit really close to the exchange so they get the really, really super live pricing of what's going on. But of course, on Vega, running on a blockchain, that is all going to be open, transparent, accessible data for everyone, which is nice. So let's put a trade on. So we've got different ways that you put a futures trade on, different order types rather. A limit order would put basically my order, it would specify a price, and that would be the sort of maximum price I would be willing to buy at, or the minimum price I'd be willing to sell at. And we can do that, if I was picking a limit order, I'd also pick what time in force I'd be willing to do. So this fill or kill just refers to the fact that I'm saying when my order gets hit, at any point it gets hit, either do all of it or none at all. Immediate or cancel is like do what you can and then cancel the rest. And then you've got a good till cancel and a good till time. Good till cancel is just, let this roll until I cancel it. And good till time is good till cancel plus an extra thing about if you clock over a certain time. But I'm going to actually go do a market order, which means I'm just happy to put an order onto the order book and let it trade. So let's pop, let's get rid of you guys. Have a look. Just put my fills over here. Sorry about all these margins. Like I said, things are just doing a funny squash up at the moment. Let's just open these up so we can see what happens when we put the trade on. So this is my positions window. And if I place a market order, it's going to trade immediately, and I should see a position open up immediately. So I should have some open volume, a price that I've achieved on the order book, and then I'll talk through the rest of these columns in a second. Right, what are we going to do? We're going to buy or sell. I'm going to suggest I'm going to buy. All right, so I'm going to buy 100. Let's do it. Let's see. All right, so we've got some fills. Like I said, just remember, this is all happening on a decentralized network, which I think is really cool. But if it were a centralized server, that would also be going to a central matching engine, basically being run by the exchange. It's just that the difference is our nodes are all running our matching engine and all the trade logic that handles the post-trade processing. So as you saw in open position, I have now, I'm long 100 of this futures contract. Basically, I've done that because I think ETH is going up potentially. And I have an average entry price, and you can see that's just the volume weighted price of each of the trades that comprises that this position. And now we've got the mark price ticking over, and at the moment for this particular market, the mark price is just clicking over with the last trade. And I have some allocated margin, and let's talk about collateral quickly actually. So to put a trade on, I needed some collateral. Vega is not a collateral blockchain, so actually sort of our architecture is such that people deposit collateral into a smart contract on one of our adjacent collateral chains. Our first integration is Ethereum. So this would be a futures market potentially settled in some kind of stable coins. So you can see our sort of fake version of the stable coin at the moment is Vega US dollars. We're not building a stable coin at all. But in the future, that could be, DAI or any of the stable Tether or any of the stable coins out there. Right, so I've deposited some VUSD, and this position has incurred some margin. So you can see that the margin that's incurred is now deployed. It's basically, there's this sort of inbuilt accounting system in the Vega core that is keeping track of what's deployed in margin. It's also keeping track of what I should owe in margin. And something that is really super cool, I think, in general about crypto and blockchain and whatnot is, and actually I was watching a great fireside chat by Blockworks Group, and it was Chris Haymeyer and he made a really fascinating point that cryptocurrencies are really unique in that this underlying asset is just kind of moving 24/7 and switching hands. And, you know, if you think that's sort of akin to a live settlement. And if you think about it, like really in terms of live settlement of assets, if you hand cash to someone, you know, and they give you something, that's a kind of live settlement, right? But, you know, typically in sort of banking systems and online transactions and so forth, you don't really get that. And, you know, obviously swapping cash and, you know, or swapping assets can really only happen locally. Otherwise, you need to go through layers of validating that the person across the globe has the thing that they say they do, and, you know, it literally takes days to do settlement. But so blockchains are really good at doing that kind of thing, and so we've harnessed that in our system as well for the sort of ongoing calculation and what we call marking to market of a position. So what happens is when you put the trade on, you are and this happens in any exchange, the exchange will keep a track. They'll first of all incur an initial margin that from everyone who has put this trade on. So all the people who are on the other side of this trade would have to put up some initial margin that would look a lot like my initial margin. And then the exchange would basically every day they would what we call mark to market the position. They'd basically say they'd revalue the open positions, you know, of all the traders with open positions in the market, and they basically say to the people who owe money, we need you to, you know, the position has moved against you, and if it's moved enough against you, you might get a margin call. But they definitely keep track of that on a daily basis. And what Vega does is it actually does that on a near live basis, because it's able to do that really fast. And so, yeah, we keep track of this, and you can see the unrealized P&L is your market of your position. Sadly, I'm losing money, but yeah, that's, I think, really fascinating. And what it basically ultimately leads to is the fact that we don't need to charge as much margin, because the actual margin represents the amount that the exchange is worried it might lose in between the times it remargins you. And if you're remargining people really quickly and you're doing this kind of live settlement, you don't need to charge as much. It's not like a whole day until they get to take some money off you. So yeah, I'm going to just click in and show the margins. So in typical exchanges, you have an initial margin, and then, you know, depending on the exchange and the way it operates, you might also have a maintenance margin. And what these basically do is say, look, we want you to put up some margin. If you're kind of this, we keep track of the mark to market and the valuation of the instruments and a few other things. And if it goes against you too much, and if it hits maintenance margin, we'll basically margin call you and take you back up to that initial margin. And we wanted to figure out how to do that in a decentralized setting. And so we actually invented something that I think is really cool. It basically is a way of doing cross margining. And by that, I mean that you incur this initial margin. And then if the position goes in your favor and you start to make enough money, you hit a level called the release level. And what that does is it says, the network basically says, look, you've made enough money off this position. We're not going to hold it on this market anymore. We're going to give you back your collateral. And so it basically sweeps back any of your gains and takes you back to this initial margin level. And it sweeps it back into this general account. And then you've got any other markets I've got trades on can search this available balance if they need more collateral to back the trade that I might have on a different market. And so, yeah, so if the market moves against me a bit and we get down to the search level, then the system will all do this for me. I'm not having to manually figure that out at all. If it goes to search for some available margin and can't find any, then the position keeps going against me, and I might end up hitting this maintenance margin level. And at that point, being a decentralized network, we, due to a few design decisions, we basically go and source order book liquidity to close you out. And yeah, so your position basically gets resolved. this all happens atomically. So unlike other sort of DeFi projects, it's not really, you're not needing to put a request for, I don't know, someone to come and close out the position on Twitter or running any kind of liquidity auctions. And none of this needs to go back through the blockchain. So you don't get the same sort of, weird front running and sort of dot pool behavior stuff that you get on Ethereum. But yeah, that's basically how our sort of atomic margining works. As I said, it all sort of happens live. It means that we have really nice capital efficiency. And so I think this is what, I don't know, like, what are we getting, sort of 16x leverage on the ETHUSD markets. I think our ETH BTC market that we put up is roughly, you're sort of being charged 11% of the face value, and which I think is about a 9x leverage. And then we've been playing around a bit actually with our GBP USD market, because Vega specifically is designed for non-crypto markets. And I think our leverage at the moment we're testing is around like 300x or something. We're just experimenting. We're wanting to stress test the system and see this is a test net, see how it performs under such stress environment. If you want to understand the futures markets, they're all cash settled futures. As I said, the settlement happens on the adjacent chain in the crypto asset, the settlement crypto asset that was nominated at the point of creation of the market. And something that I think is really different about Vega is that you can create and launch your own futures markets on this ecosystem really quickly and easily. And we'll be doing a little bit of sort of demos of that in the near little while. But basically it comes down to how you define a market, and we also have a whole bunch of inbuilt economic mechanisms to kind of help incentivize the right behaviors. I'm very mindful of time. We have an amazing few panels, so I won't dig in too much more. I just wanted to touch on, to end the trade life cycle, I talked about entering the trade. I talked about kind of the risk management of the trade, and I'd like to talk about exiting or settlement of the trade. So if I close this position out, so if we just take a look, unfortunately I'll be locking in a loss, but if I close this position out, hopefully this will, I just can't really see the full deal ticker, there we go. There we go, that's closed it out, and I have locked in a realized P&L loss, unfortunately. If it were a gain, if I'd made money, that would have been swept immediately to my available balance for use on other markets or withdrawal from the Ethereum smart contract. And that is essentially the system settling me because I closed this position out. If I decided to carry it through to expiry, the system will use an oracle or some sort of data source to input what the final settlement should be of that market. And we've actually designed a very generic kind of oracle framework so that anybody can launch a market and nominate an oracle or a sort of data source that performs this role. That data source could be another Vega market. It could be some kind of data, from oracles on Ethereum. It could even be you as a market creator saying, look, hey, I've got a good brand. You know who I am. Maybe I've built up either a pseudonymous identity, or maybe I'm on a Goldman's trading desk or something and have some kind of reputation in the real world. And then you can also be the oracle. And again, if you dig into our economic incentives, you'll see why that makes sense in terms of being able to build businesses and have kind of long-term reputation on Vega. Anyway, as I said, this is a lightning run through. I'm really sorry, I'm not going to take questions because I'm really keen for the next panel to get on. You guys should definitely watch that. It's Barney, I believe, doing a panel about liquidity. And I didn't talk about any of our liquidity or economic incentives. He might touch on what we're doing at Vega, but he's also going to be talking to other people about the other approaches. And there's a lot of innovation, a lot of thinking around liquidity. So please join for that. And I will duck off for now. Thanks for having me. And
perfect. Thank you, Tamlyn. That was really good. A lot of the concepts you mentioned today, such as margin, liquidity, and settlement, like you covered them and you kind of explained how they take place. So yeah, if you want to learn more, come and hop on our Discord. But we'll move straight on to the panel discussions, which we have 3 of over the next couple hours. So yeah, you guys can have a little break in the lounge, and then we will see you very soon in about 5 minutes.